It's episode 50 today of our weekly CRICKETher Vodcast. Can you believe we've got to 50 episodes, Sid?
CRICKETher Vodcast is older than me.
Yes. And unfortunately, this is being brought to you a bit later than usual and also from two very tired presenters. Is that fair, Sid?
I think so, yes.
So we did stay up all night for the third ODI. That's obviously the third time in a week that we've done that, and we also both have full-time day jobs into the bargain, so we're both a bit knackered. If we make any errors today or seem slightly incoherent, then that's the reason why. So apologies in advance for that. But yes, it's going to be maybe a bit of a shorter podcast than usual. We'll see how we get on, but we are going to focus on England v New Zealand, the ODI series, which England obviously won 2-1 in the end. So out of the two of us, I think I've got the bragging rights there, Sid, because I correctly predicted the scoreline.
Victory.
Having said that, we both said that England were going to lose the first ODI, and they didn't. They won it fairly easily. So we got that wrong, but you know, I'll take the wins where I can get them. Now, Sid, Tammy Beaumont. She was player of the series. There's only one Tammy Beaumont, isn't there?
Well, I tweeted about this morning, Raf, and actually it's kind of interesting that there's two Tammy Beaumonts. There was a Tammy Beaumont that played for England between 2009 and 2015. Her average contribution to an England innings throughout that period was 9. There were a variety of reasons for that. She'd spent some of those, actually I think she batted at 11 for at least one of those matches. Wow. But that was her average contribution. Since 2016, so we're getting into the the fifth year of that period now, her average contribution to an England innings has been 47. That's an absolutely staggering difference, and you can see it in the chart that I tweeted. So I think that just shows, you know, how consistent she's been. And other people have had their purple patches, but she's been so consistent over the last 5 years. And I just think that, you know, she's been England's best player over that period. And, you know, I'm in awe of her contribution and how she's kept up that rate and kept up that contribution. So it's fantastic stuff from her, and she did it again today. If anything, I guess the only kind of thing you can criticise her for today is she had a little bit too much faith in some of her tail end colleagues at the end of the innings. And Richard from Women's County Cricket Day tweeted that she'd only faced about a third of the deliveries. So the last 60 deliveries that England faced, Tammy only faced 21 of them, and I think she really, in retrospect, should have been farming the strike a bit more and should have had not quite as much faith in the tail enders. But again, another great contribution today. Obviously, there's going to be debate, and if you ask 3 different people who England's best batter is, then you might well get 3 different answers. So for me, it's Tammy. For someone else, it might be Heather. For someone else, it might be Nat Siver. Where do you stand on that one, Raf?
I think first of all, it's a great dilemma to have, isn't it? Which of those 3 might be considered our best batter? But I think that you're absolutely right to highlight that the key thing about Tammy Beaumont is her consistency. And it is really incredible to think that that is the same player who, you know, 5 years ago, people were saying, why is she playing for England? She can't bat for toffee. And it is the consistency. I think that was actually the word that Lisa Kiteley used in the post-series press conference to talk about her. It's the fact that when she comes to the crease, especially in ODIs, I think, you know that she's going to make runs and you just feel safe. And for us as kind of England supporters, that's quite rare actually over the years for you to feel that there's somebody coming to the crease who's not going to get out. So I think it is really that's the importance of her contribution is the consistency, as you say. She somehow kind of always finds a way to score runs, whatever the match situation. And I guess that puts her a level above players who, in the New Zealand side, who we really consider to be kind of, you know, amazing players like Sophie Devine, like Amy Satterthwaite, like Susie Bates, who on their day are better than Tammy Beaumont. But their day doesn't come round as often as Tammy Beaumont's day does, if that makes any sense. I don't know whether I'm just talking sleep-deprived nonsense, but it's all about the consistency, I think.
Okay. And do you think that England have got any concerns? Anything not gone quite to plan? I mean, obviously they didn't win every game, but that wasn't a bad showing in today's game. But any other concerns, Raf?
I guess in terms of the batting, probably Danny Wyatt is a bit of a concern, and you do it does feel a little bit like Heather Knight. Heather Knight really talked her up in the pre-series press conference and said, "Oh, this is Danny Wyatt's time to shine, and she's going to kind of come to the party and have a really big contribution in this series." And kind of talked about the fact that she hadn't stamped her authority on the 50-over format in the way that she has in 20-over cricket, and actually that's still the case. She's had three low scores, hasn't really made a contribution, and that's tricky. In terms of whether she's going to continue to open for England in ODI cricket, I mean, I don't think there's any question marks over her role in the 20-over format, but in 50-over cricket, what's her role going to be going forward for England? Well, I think that Lisa Kiteley, in the post-series press conference, was pretty clear. She said she's going to continue to open for us, and hopefully in the English summer she can do the thing that Heather Knight was hoping that she'd do in this series against New Zealand and actually come to the party in 50-over cricket. But I have to say that if I was Lauren Winfield-Hill, then I'd be wondering what I can do to claim my old opening spot back. Winfield-Hill was obviously England's opener in the 2017 World Cup, which England won, and subsequently was dropped from the opening spot because of a poor run of form. And Danny Wyatt, to some extent, has kind of taken her spot at the top of the order. And actually, if you're Lauren Winfield-Hill, you're probably sat there on the sidelines going, how do I win my spot back? Because when I'm selected for England now, I come in low down the order, number 7, number 8 maybe. I don't ever have an opportunity to make a definitive contribution to the team's score by coming in that low down. I don't have the chance to show what I can do at the top of the order, and we know that Winfield-Hill enjoys opening. That's the role that she performs in domestic cricket for Yorkshire and for Northern Diamonds. That's the role that she wants to be doing for England. But isn't being given the opportunity to do so, even when England have got somebody like Danny Wyatt, who has gone for a long period now without making a significant contribution at the top of the order. So it's obvious from what Lisa Kiteley said that Danny Wyatt is going to continue opening. But yeah, if I was Lauren Winfield-Hill, I think I might feel a little bit disgruntled about that. So food for thought there, perhaps.
Now, with regard to the bowling, of course, the batting lineup was very steady throughout the series and performed well generally. With regard to the bowling, England did mix things up a bit. None of the seamers played in all 3 matches. So we saw some of Catherine Brunt, we saw some of Tash Farrant, we saw some of Freya Davies, and we saw some of Kate Cross. Raf, how do you think people came out of that? What are the scores on the doors at the end of that?
Scores on the doors. Well, yeah, one thing that was really interesting and that we got totally wrong in our Vodcast last week, so we hold our hands up. Hold your hands up, Sid. We thought that Tash Farrant wasn't going to be playing, didn't we? And she did. She played in the very first ODI. So she somehow leapfrogged Kate Cross in contention for the... and she actually opened the bowling alongside Catherine Brunt. So she'd obviously had some really, really good net sessions, because Heather Knight, before the series, was... when they flew out to New Zealand and she did that press conference back in January, she actually said, she's going to have to perform really well in the nets to actually get selected. So she obviously had. Good for her. I think I wrote this in my piece after the first ODI, that actually what it shows is the value for Tash Farrant of having played in every single match of the Rachel Hayhoe-Flint Trophy. She had all those games of 50-over cricket under her belt. By contrast, Kate Cross had to bubble up with England at Derby, knowing she wasn't going to play in any of the T20s against West Indies, because the England management were very clear with her and said, no, we don't see a role for you in this, and therefore missed out on playing for Lancashire, the Thunder, sorry.
I can't believe it's not Lancashire.
In the Rachel Hayhoe-Flint Trophy, and would probably now feel a little bit hard done by about that, because she lost out on her opportunity to get some good games of 50 over cricket under her belt in the way that Tash Farrant did, and was somehow therefore leapfrogged out of contention by somebody who really had kind of got that really important match practice. So that's a real dilemma, actually, I think, going forward, is the extent to which fringe players should be allowed to, or should be released by England to go and play for their regions, or their counties or whatever, because that will actually get them some competitive cricket, rather than just carrying the drinks, which, let's face it, doesn't do a huge amount to advance your career. So that was an interesting one, the selection of Tash Farrant. I was really impressed with Freya Davies, especially in the third ODI. I thought that her first couple of overs she was really threatening, and this was obviously a big challenge for her, kind of opening the bowling in ODIs. It's something that we've been saying for a while that she should really be given the opportunity to do, because if you don't do it in a real life match situation, then you won't get that practice, and so that's great to see her being given that role, and executing it really well, getting really good late movements, really intimidating the New Zealand batters, and picking up a key wicket early on in today's ODI through that movement. So I thought that she has actually advanced her case quite a lot in this series. That's my overall judgment on it. But yeah, it was definitely good in terms of England's selection, actually giving some of these other bowlers an opportunity. I think I've reflected in my piece after the third ODI that maybe they're not giving the batters the same opportunity, not changing it up in that regard to the same extent. So that's maybe a bit disappointing from our perspective, but certainly it's great to see some of the bowlers getting these extra exciting opportunities.
Now, you've got 3 T20s coming up, of course. Do you think that we'll see some opportunities from other players in there? I guess we're thinking in particular of Sophia Dunkley. Do you think she's going to get an opportunity in the T20s?
I really hope so. Yeah, definitely. I think that England do see her as more of a T20 player at the moment. And yeah, it would be great to see her actually, coming in and playing in all 3 of the T20s.
Great. Well, let's look forward to next week. Thanks for joining us this week.
Sleepless nights.
A bit less sleepless, they're a bit
true.
shorter.
That's true.
So we can go back to bed afterwards. Thank you for joining us this week. We will be back with you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in a week's time. Until then, enjoy yourselves, take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.